Every day is a blessing. The time we spend together. All we can do is promote change. 24 hours better.
Welcome back. So today we have a fellow life coach, a fellow a devoted person in the space to help people, and I want to give them, great props, and I want to give them the different kind of atmosphere and the energy that's deserved of what they do and the things that they try to provide out into the world and their service, and I want to try to give that and that energy. And by doing so, if you've watched the last one, I have a problem with names, and my challenge is still evident today. But I will attempt to do it. I have an interview here today with life coach, entrepreneur, man of extraordinary features, Don Suttajit. Did I say that right this time?
Leland, that was great. That was great.
Oh, phew, I was praying on that one. Okay, so I'm for the duration, because I don't want to disrespect. I'm going to call you Mr. Don. And I want to talk about a little bit of the experiences that you had and the things that you've got going on right now. I read a little bit of bio, did a little bit of background, did a little bit of research, dug a little bit, moved some furniture around the room to figure out, a little bit about you. And that was kind of a pun, because you deal in the space of like cleaning up and helping people kind of like declutter and shift things out of the way to see like the reality of their situation and who they are and who they can, who they can potentially become. And I want to ask you, the first question I have about that is, what led you down that path? What was that moment that like the light went off and you were like, this is my calling, this is where I want to do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leland. First, I want to I was listening to you for a little bit, and I think you talked about the space is decluttering and all that. It's actually something deeper. I'm more interested in identity, and so going to my story. So when I was younger, I was really messy. Um, I tried everything, right? Like I went to the bookstore, Barnes and Noble, and would try to get any organization books and just try to learn off of that. I was watching things on YouTube, stuff like that, but they never stuck until one day I was cleaning in my home, my room, and things just kind of clicked. I was looking around and I'm like, man, this all have to do with identity. By what I mean is you begin to see, like I was looking at my old college books, right? I was like, man, that's the past version of myself, right? At the time I already moved past the college days, and I was like, this is not me anymore. Or I think we can all especially see it in our closet, right? Like we when we look in our closet, we're like, man, this is not me anymore. So as I sat there in my room, I was like, man, like this all have to do with identity. And if I work on my identity, everything else will fall into place. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why I wrote the book. I wanted to spread this message. And yeah, so it started with that. I had I was living in my 20s. I was going through a lot of depression. And as I healed myself, as I continued to work on myself, I realized, the outer world begin to align with your inner world, right? It's kind of one and the same. It's like a mirror, right? And so I thought yeah, I love that message and I wanted to spread it.
So obviously there was something that was going on in that time frame, and you said that you were going through different phases of depression, and obviously during the teenage years there's nothing that's really easy for teenagers trying to figure things out and where they want to go and what we're doing. But then there was that moment, like you said, you had that moment of clarity, and I want to kind of explore that a little bit, like
Mhm.
that transition when that shifted and you made that pivot. Usually it's something that's harsh or something that happens tragically, but you said the light bulb just cut on and you just kind of like went with it. How did that affect you in your daily life after that? Like after the light bulb cut on, after the factor hit in and you went back to school or the next day or your job, how did that like affect it? Were there's like new levels of code that you saw in the Matrix? You just saw like new levels of things that kind of happen. I want to learn a little bit about that. Like what was that journey for you?
Yeah, it wasn't an instant journey, right? But that moment kind of did open my eyes, right? And of course, I didn't have any guidance or anyone at the time. That's why I think roles like yours, being a coach, is so valuable. And I didn't have that at the time. And so by little, I began to piece things together. And but I still didn't, it didn't fully click until one day, everything just kind of fell apart, right? So I was, at the time, so the reason I was really in depression is because I was trying to live a life that's not mine. I wasn't living an authentic
Right.
life. I was living something that I thought I had to be. And so at the time, I was also exploring entrepreneurship. And I was doing it for the wrong reason. I wasn't doing it for my own fulfillment, or I was just doing it because I thought that was a cool path, right? That was, something you have to do to be kind of up there, to be respected, and so forth. And I was working hard, really hard at the time. And one day, I had a panic attack, and I didn't know what that was at the time. And yeah, I thought it was a heart attack. I didn't know what it was. And so I sat on a bench that day, and I was like, man, things have to change. And so I really began to look within. Began to ask questions of like, why am I doing this? Like, what's really going on? Like, what's all of this? I think that that moment really started everything. I think the moment in my room was kind of like that seed, but man,
Right.
that moment of panic attack was really like, all right, let's really do something about it. And I think it just started question of whys, right? Like, why am I doing this? What's going on with that? And I began to work on myself from there. I began to see therapists and read more books. I bought courses from coaches, and so and once I found myself, everything began to click more. I don't know if I answered your question or went beyond
No,
it,
you did.
but
You did. I love like the idea from what I'm gathering, the idea is that you found your peace. And in that moment of like realizing like the chaos and everything, you found this one little hope of peace and you said, I want to expand this. I want
Mhm.
to expand this till it covers every ounce of my life and not just in my living space, but when I'm at peace here, I want to be at peace everywhere. And it sounds like that you just expanded that out. Is that a tactic that you use to find someone else's peace and then help them expand from that and like remove that excess around? Is that a process that you do or
Yeah,
what?
absolutely. I really believe wholeheartedly that when you find who you are and what you want in life, everything falls into place, right? Like I was talking to my friend not that long ago. This is kind of it's a goofy analogy, but for him it helps him understand. But we were talking just about this about who you are and what you want in life, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of like, so here in Houston there's a bunch of restaurants, right? And the minute you leave your home, if you don't have a game plan, you could be in trouble. You could be venturing to all kind of restaurants, right?
I
But
know. I know about
yeah,
Texas.
right.
Well, trust me, Texas and I, we don't necessarily get along. It's the only place that I've been to where you turn left to go right. And if those of you that've been there and like you know, like everywhere that's on the right, you got to make three lefts to get to it.
Yeah, there's a
It's
lot of
amazing.
options. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
go right ahead.
so,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that was great. So if you don't know where you're going, right? Like I think you use the analogy of like, yeah, like if I say to myself, I want a taco, right? And the minute you start driving, you're gonna be tempted by, I don't know, Wendy's or McDonald's and right? And so, but if you know what you want, you have a destination and everything else falls into place. I mean, I'm probably simplifying it, oversimplifying it, but
No, the
that's my
simple is better.
philosophy. If you figure out who you are, so I normally start with that, like who are you and what do you want, which is a loaded question, right? But I think if you open with that, you begin to kind of start exploring things, right? Things come up and you can explore that and continue to kind of narrow down who you are and what you want in life. So,
I want to give props to you for that because a lot of coaches that I've talked to, especially in, not just in your space, but in the coaching industry in the space, they don't take time to actually ask that question or figure that thing out. And they want to sell the program instead of, the development of the person or the learner or the process.
Mm,
I experienced that in the field, and I'm seeing that in a lot of different, not to knock anybody else, but I'm seeing a lot of things of that. So
mm,
kudos for you for that, for even identifying, because learners learn a different way. People
mm,
process a different way. Emotionally, they develop a different way. And we don't know the trauma, the baggage, or anything
mhm,
else that they have, or the experiences that they have to develop that. And you kind of have to attack that if you
mhm,
say, I'm going to help you. If you never ran a 5K a day in your life and
mhm,
you want to pick up and you want to run, things are going to resonate differently. And which is
mhm,
why I love the fact that even if you're explaining it in a simplistic manner, that message is for somebody out there to hear that from you. So I encourage you to do more and continue to down that path.
mm,
Um, so the next question that I kind of have for you is, now that you're in this space, right? And you're in this space, and how do you maintain all of this? How do you maintain it? Because it seems when you're talking about removing spaces, removing distractions, removing clutter, but then you open the doors for
mm,
everything to kind of funnel in. How
mhm.
do you how do you manage that? Like that's still like, about giving yourself to that like level and degree.
Okay, you're talking about the home or
Everything. I mean, you kind of
how do
open
you,
that
okay,
up,
gotcha,
like
gotcha.
to have that piece, and then you open it up for saying here, you know.
Yeah,
So now you have all this stuff here. So how do
I
you manage
gotcha.
that?
I got you. Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question, Lee.
Sorry.
But I think again, you start with who you are and what you want in life, right? And then there's going to be different strategies for different things, right? Like if you're talking about homes, there's different strategies for that, or if you're talking about just life, yeah, there's going to be different strategies for that. And life in this busyness, right, requires things like routine and yeah, things like that. Yeah, that's a really loaded question. I think you start with your core, right? Like your root, your foundation, and then you kind of go from there. Some of those might be soft skills. I mean, was it hard skill? I'm getting it mixed up. Uh, learning things like routine or um yeah, stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Like for me personally, and again, my wife's a great sport because I don't know how she puts up with me, but like there's things at my capacity that I just can't do. And
Mhm,
if I'm operating or I'm working in my systems and I'm doing my things, I can't answer the phone. I
mhm,
can't text, I can't, write back. And she'll probably kill me for telling anybody else this that does these things. But I have like shortcuts on my
mhm,
phone automatically. So if she just texts me, I love you, it will automatically
mhm.
reply back, and I never see it. So but she knows it. So like
Yeah.
I'm not in trouble, but like if I just get distracted like that, just that little
Mhm,
bit, then everything else in my brain just kind of shuts down.
mhm,
So, luckily I have her to work with me on that kind of aspects. Even if she doesn't like do projects or something with me, she's actually helping me in that capacity because I know my limitations.
mhm, mhm.
And I was kind of curious, I'm sorry
Yeah.
for the loaded question, but like that just seemed to be kind of like the way that, protecting your peace and opening up those doors at the
Yeah.
same time of decluttering things and then bringing all these different assets in and bringing all these different people in and bringing in their problems and helping. I was like kind of curious, like, how do you manage
Yeah.
all of that?
I
That
think
seems like a big workload.
yeah, I think it goes to the word that you use is it's system, right? So it was loaded because you can apply that to many parts. I'm gonna use the home for example, just to
Okay.
be more specific and to narrow things down. Like for the home, like I have a section in my book that talks about building rules, kind of like what you just kind of said, like at whatever time, like you can't, I'm not gonna answer my phone, things like that. So for the home, you can have rules, right? Like at night. You can like for me, I have a rule of cleaning the dishes at night, right? And then in the morning, I put away the dishes and things like that. What else? Everything has a home, right? Like if I put out a pen, like I have to put it back in its home, right?
Right.
Things like that. So there's that. Like, if we're talking about home, we're talking about life. You can build a system like I don't know, like for me, I was just talking to someone earlier about Like maybe wake up at 5 in the morning when it's really peaceful, right? I was talking to someone who has two kids, and so she said she never has any time of her own, right? And so we were talking about like, okay, like where can you find time of your own? She's like, hey, I could do 5 a.m. Maybe that's where I get a little workout, and that's where I work on myself. And then at night I do the kid stuff or whatever. But
Right.
it all goes back to what you just said. It's about a system, and that's different for everyone. So I think everything requires a system, right? So,
Okay. So we get to the point where I want to ask this question and kind of explore a little bit more about,
Mhm.
who you are and the depths of things. And I ask this of everyone because the reason is that things resonate differently with different people.
Mhm.
And this is the importance of this question because some people are going to resonate differently with you than with me. And I ask you the question is, what keeps you motivated?
Mm.
And we talked about your peace, we talked about decluttering, we talked about your lifestyle, we talked about the beauty of that, but there's an underlying factor in that somewhere, and I want to like dive into that. What keeps you motivated?
Yeah, so what keeps me motivated is, remember I told you about the story of how I was depressed for about a decade, and it's because I was doing things that wasn't me, wasn't my authentic self. And so since then I've worked on myself, right? And really found myself and found freedom from expectations and things like that. But what ends up happening is, and I don't know if this happened to you, but once you found this freedom and this peace and joy, you kind of want others to have it. And so as I go into the world, right, as I go into, for example, the other day I was at Walmart, like I was just kind of looking around, right? You can kind of read people's face and you can recognize, man, that kind of face I recognize. That
Right.
used to be me. And so the more I see this in the world, the more I want to be a contributor to helping people find themselves, right? Like I look to my left and I look to my right and I see everyone struggling when they don't have to.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of like I feel like there's this kind of curse, or maybe a better word, duty, right? Like, now
Right.
that I've felt free, now that I've felt happy, I just want to help other people.
That is like the most genuine thing that I've probably ever heard. Um, I didn't understand that level of empathy until I started waiting tables. And
Mm,
then, I was working as a waiter, and then as I was going through the process, I realized everything I was going through and then
mm,
trying to make other
mm,
people feel better. Then when I started, elevating and I got out of the waiting game, I had to come back and I had
mm,
someone else serve me. And
mm,
then it kind of like shifted my perspective of the things that they're going through
mm,
and the things that they probably deal with on an everyday basis, but they have to do the same thing for me.
mm,
So like you're saying, you can see the other side of that and you have that kind of internal, dialogue of I don't know exactly, but I know what you're doing and I know what you're feeling and I know what you're
yeah.
going through and I want to make it better. I want to help it, because it's it's just the way I am and I love that. I love that
Mm,
everything you said offline. Um I don't do this while we're talking, but offline, I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number and whenever you need me, we're going to talk.
mm,
So I'm putting that in the recording so everybody knows.
yeah.
But yeah, I love what you're doing. That is one of the most selfless things I have ever heard, and I love that. And I want to make sure that we support you in your process of everything that you're doing. Um, so with that being said, you mentioned your book, you mentioned, some of the things that you're going through and how is there a website? Is there a way anybody can get in touch with you? Anything like that? What's going on?
Yeah, of course. And I want to, I didn't get to reply to what you said. And yeah, I would love your cell phone because I think, I was li reading your story as well. And man, I feel for you, man. The things that
Thank
you
you.
went through as a child, especially to see your mom in that state
Thank you.
but I think what ends up happening is as we heal, right? Like we become this embodiment of love, right? We have empathy for others, and I think it's happen. I think that's why you're doing what you're doing as well, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
almost like a duty and a purpose at this point. Like it's hard to watch other people struggle. So I just want to give you kudos as well as I was reading your
I've
story.
never said that on camera, but thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But yeah, I thank you for telling your viewers to support me. And so I'm still kind of new in this game, this process and all of that. The book just finished in January of this year, 2026. And so the next step is right to build my platform and business. And so well, first you can go to my website, which I'm still kind of building, but you can definitely sign up for my newsletter there. It's livefreely.co. Sign up for the newsletter. I'm definitely
Right.
going to pump out a bunch of just message on living freely. And then my social media, my Instagram is at Live Freely Project. And it's the same as my YouTube, which I only have two video at the time, I'll be honest. But I'm
That,
gonna build this thing up. This is my purpose. This is
that
where I
everybody
wanna,
starts somewhere. Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
this is where this is how I want to end my life. So go on there. I'll build it up sooner or later. Right now I have some big projects in the way, but I'll get to that. But yeah, go on there and you can message me there. I'm always open for a talk and yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Don, again, thank you for your time and your passion. Again, I want to make sure that everybody that I know and knows about you, and we try to direct that in the right light, and help you out. And we're going to try to elevate you and get you where you need to be, as well as making sure that everybody that needs you finds a way to get to you. With that being said, I want to thank you for your time, and I greatly appreciate this conversation. You've inspired me to make some couple of changes that I need to make, and hopefully I'll let you know my progress. So everybody, Mr. Don, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Leland.
Listen, if this message resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Transformation doesn't happen from watching. It happens from action. If you're ready to level up your mindset, your habits, and your life, I've created something for you. Tap the link below and join my free podcast and community where growth isn't just talked about, it's lived. Surround yourself with people who are building, evolving, and pushing forward. And if you haven't already, subscribe, stay connected, and commit to becoming the strongest version of yourself. This is your moment. Let's grow.
Every day is a blessing. The time we spend together. All we can do is promote change. 24 hours better.